Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for a massive paradigm shift in how we actually measure modern innovation. We love to picture that lone brilliant inventor tinkering away in a garage as the ultimate engine of technological progress, but what if the very systems designed to protect those creators are literally pricing them out of existence? We're going to dig into the data, the history, and the incredibly harsh realities of the modern patent landscape to figure out if the independent inventor is fast becoming an endangered species.
Okay, let's dive right in with a single, absolutely staggering number, 250,000. That's the estimated number of active patents packed into a single modern smartphone. Just think about that for a second. Every single time you send a text or swipe open an app, you are holding 250,000 overlapping property rights right there in the palm of your hand. It's wild. And it plunges us straight into the sheer, almost unimaginable scale of today's patent landscape.
Now, because of this massive explosion in global patent filings, it's super easy to make one specific assumption, that more patents simply equal more innovation. We see millions of patents being filed and naturally assume technology is advancing at lightning speed, right? But the reality, as researchers are increasingly pointing out, is that patent counts are actually a deeply imperfect metric. This sheer volume creates a powerful illusion of progress, but it's really just masking some severe underlying systemic issues.
Section 1. Tangled in Patent Thickets.
So to understand those systemic issues, we really have to look at the physical reality of the modern patent battlefield. Our sources highlight this concept known as the patent thicket. Famously defined by Carl Shapiro, a patent thicket is basically a dense, tangled web of overlapping intellectual property rights. A company literally has to hack its way through this web just to commercialize a new technology. When you're dealing with complex, modular tech, like that smartphone we just talked about, different companies own different overlapping patents. And this creates an impenetrable thicket that completely blocks smaller competitors from ever getting a foot in the door.
And this perfectly illustrates the scene battlefield. For an independent creator, these patent thickets act as an absolute concrete barrier to entry. They're staring down exorbitant costs, massive licensing fees, and something called royalty stacking, where the cumulative fees you have to pay just to avoid infringement wipe out any potential profit entirely. If they even try to innovate, they're instantly met with inevitable, wildly expensive litigation. It's just a brutally inefficient use of resources that stifles commercialization before it even gets off the ground.
Section 2. The PTAB Death Squads.
But here's the thing. The thicket is really only half the battle. We also have to look at the actual administrative arena where these patent wars are fought. Back in 2011, the American Invents Act established the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, or the PTAB. Now, supporters of the PTAB will tell you it's a completely necessary filter, right? A way to clear out flimsy, low-quality patents the Patent Office shouldn't have issued in the first place. But independent inventors, they experience it very differently. In fact, in 2013, the former chief judge of the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, Randall Rader, gave the PTAB a nickname that has stuck ever since: the Patent Death Squad.
And here is where we hit a truly staggering statistical anomaly. On one hand, patent examiners are reportedly given A+ grades for their initial reviews. Yet, data from fiscal year 2024 shows that out of all the reviews reaching a final written decision at the PTAB, 70% find all claims unpatentable, and a massive 85% find at least one claim canceled. So, for the lone inventor, dragging a patent in front of this board frequently means watching their entire life's work get completely wiped out.
And we cannot ignore the financial reality of this process. An inventor routinely has to spend between $500,000 and a cool $1 million in legal fees simply to defend their constitutionally guaranteed property rights at the PTAB against corporate challenges. Think about that. This isn't the cost of inventing a new product. This is literally just the cost of surviving the administrative tribunal.
Section 3. The Unseen Casualties. Up until now, we've really been focusing on the highly visible survivors. The patents in the thicket, the cases at the PTAB, but I want you to consider a logical consequence here. If it costs up to $1 million just to defend a patent you already own, who exactly isn't fighting? What happens to the archetypal lone inventor, the person who doesn't have a corporate legal team or $1 million defense budget?
Well, it means that when we look at innovation, we are suffering from massive survivorship bias. It's exactly like the famous World War II analysis of returning B-17 bombers. The military wanted to put armor over the bullet holes they could see on the returning planes, but statistician Abraham Wald pointed out the crucial flaw. The planes shot in the engine never made it back at all. The visible patent thickets and those PTAB trials, those are just the bullet holes we can see. The true casualties are the lone inventors who were completely deterred, shot down by astronomical costs before their businesses even took flight.
Section 4. Innovation outside the system.
But all of this raises a really fascinating question. If the patent system is so unbelievably hostile to the little guy, does innovation just stop? Research from economic historian Petra Moser answers this beautifully by looking at data from historical international exhibitions, like the 1851 Crystal Palace World's Fair. Moser proves that relying solely on patent counts is just a fundamentally flawed metric. Why? Because historically, a massive amount of high-quality innovation has happened completely off the books, entirely outside the patent system.
When you contrast the two paths side by side, it makes perfect sense. The patent route is brutally expensive, it requires you to fully disclose exactly how your invention works, and it exposes you to massive litigation risk. But historically, inventors didn't always do that. They relied on alternative mechanisms. They used strict secrecy, the sheer advantage of just being the first one to market, or even collective, open sharing with other inventors.
History is absolutely packed with incredible examples of this. Did you know that for decades, countries like Switzerland and the Netherlands didn't even have patent laws? It's true. Yet, Swiss watchmakers in the Vallée de Joux completely flourished. How? By maintaining incredibly tight secrecy. They even refused to take on apprentices to protect their mechanical designs. Early chemical dye makers relied on the fact that their formulas were just too complex to reverse engineer. The Dutch totally dominated food processing, notably giving birth to the margarine industry and eventually Unilever entirely through secrecy. And over in the British metallurgy industry, massive advancements happened through the collective, cooperative sharing of blast furnace designs, almost no patents involved.
Section 5. Protecting breakthroughs or monopolies.
So if true innovation can clearly happen without patents, and the modern patent system is so overwhelmingly hostile to independent inventors, we really have to question the ultimate function of our contemporary patent landscape. That landscape shifted dramatically with the Leahy-Smith America Invents Act of 2011. This legislation replaced the traditional first-to-invent system with a first-inventor-to-file regime. Now, for a massive corporation with an army of in-house lawyers, filing daily applications is a breeze. But for a lone creator, they might need months just to raise the thousands of dollars required to draft a single application. This created a high-cost race to the patent office. It stripped away the equitable advantage of keeping low-cost written records and cemented a profoundly corporate-centric arena.
As the research powerfully summarizes, the system has shifted from protecting breakthroughs to defending corporate market share. What was originally designed in the Constitution to foster independent minds and protect true, groundbreaking technological leaps has largely devolved into a weapon of litigation attrition. These massive corporate patent portfolios don't just protect ideas anymore. They actively block competitors and heavily raise the marginal costs of research and development for everyone else.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. We've uncovered how the invisible bullet holes of survivorship bias are hiding the true, devastating costs of our modern patent system. We've seen that defending a right can cost $1 million, and we know that vast, incredible innovation once thrived entirely outside this corporate battlefield. So I'll leave you with this. In a modern world utterly dominated by dense patent thickets, ruthless administrative tribunals, and a survival of the richest mentality, is the American lone inventor destined to become just another unseen casualty of history? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this deep dive changes the way you think about the true price of innovation.